very much for coming down, Jeremy.
Thanks, Candy. Thank you for inviting me along today. I've just come up from Parliament now, and I bring greetings from a number of colleagues who I met on the way to come here. One is Diane Abbott, as you know, is running for Mayor of London. She sends her support. Calvin Hopkins sends his support, and John McDonnell will be along, I'm sure. He's busy trying to extract from the Treasury an explanation. Is he behind me? It's a little early for the pantomime season. John is trying to extract from the Treasury why it is good for Britain's economy to give away £64 billion to the banking sector by selling off the shares in RBS at a cut price. I think we all know the answer for that. It helps profits of the few. It creates greater inequality for the many. I think that's the answer that John will probably get, but he'll be along later. I want to say I'm here to support the union, I'm here to oppose privatisation, and I'm here to support Candy as a victim of an attack by the management, because she, on behalf of everyone, is standing up for a publicly owned, publicly run, public asset to be full of people who are publicly employed. It's not too much to ask, is it, in modern Britain? Can we support Candy, yeah? Yeah! And I just also say this. A lot of talk about rights and justice in society. What this government is planning to do is repeal the Human Rights Act, to damage the Equality Act, to withdraw Britain from the European Convention on Human Rights, to cock a snoot at the ILO and all the other international conventions. I realise often they're minimal and very weak, but they do set a benchmark for something. If we withdraw from all of those, then what are we saying about trade union rights? What are we saying about the right to assembly in the future? What are we saying about the kind of democracy in which we live? I've just been elected to Parliament with just over 60% of the vote in my constituency on a 67% turnout. It's the highest ever vote I've received and the highest ever turnout that's ever been recorded in my constituency. And I'm very grateful to all the people in Islington North that voted for me to ask me to be their MP for another 5 years. Very proud of that, and I'll do my best to represent them throughout that period. Had that been a union election? Nah, not enough. It would not have been a result that would have been credible under the legislation that's now being proposed. What this government is doing, with the support of only 24% of the electorate, is a wholesale attack on trade union rights, a wholesale attack on rights at work, a wholesale attack on wages to increase poverty, deepen inequality, and make a deeply unpleasant society in the future. So we have to think of where we came from. Those that stood in support of the Toll Bottle martyrs in the 19th century, those that fought for trade union rights all through the 19th century, those Chartists who marched through this very square down to Parliament with actually very minimal demands in the Great Charter, led by Charles Duncombe, a previous MP for Islington North, I hasten to add. They didn't achieve everything. 50 years later, they'd achieved almost all of it. Those that dreamt of the idea of healthcare as a right, and a pension as a right, not a privilege, in the late 19th century, were told they were dreamers, useless, unreal people. 50 years later, we had a national health service, we had a welfare state, we had a universal right to housing. All those things were achieved because a few people took a stand. A few more joined them in taking the stand. The stand got bigger, the movement got bigger, the cause got bigger, the success was certain as a result of that. Standing out here with Candy, standing out here against privatisation is not easy. You've done it for a lot of times, and you're going to be doing it for quite a few more times. But you're gaining the support and the respect of so many more people because you're doing that. That's why we're going to win. And when we win to defeat privatisation here, everybody else that stands up against the contract culture, the internal market culture, the privatisation culture, the cutting cost culture at the expense of the poorest, stands taller and has a greater chance of winning. That's what it's all about. We march down that road together. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much. from that, just to let people know that GMB members who've recently been on strike at the Globe have won their dispute and are back at work. But GMB members in the Royal Parks are on strike tomorrow and the next day, a 2-day strike in support of the living wage. So I think we'd all want to give our support to them.